तत्सत्।
ॐ
सदाशिवसमारम्भाम्
आचार्यमध्यमाम्
अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ताम्
अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ताम् वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् ॐ सहना भवतु
भवतु सहनौ
सह
भुनक्तु
वीर्यं
सह वीर्यं
करभावहै
करवावहै
तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा
तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा
विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः Om Tat Sat. Om Namah
ॐ
Shivaya.
तत्सत् ॐ
Morning,
नमः
everyone.
शिवाय।
Namah Shivaya.
So we are on the 18th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. So we will chant. अथ अष्टादशोऽध्यायः
अथ
अथ
अष्टादशोऽध्यायः
अष्टादशोऽध्यायः
मोक्षसन्न्यासयोगः
मोक्षसंन्यासयोगः।
मोक्षसंन्यासयोगः।
अर्जुन उवाच
अर्जुन
अर्जुन
उवाच
उवाच
सन्न्यासस्य महाबाहो
सन्न्यासस्य महाबाहो
तत्त्वमिच्छामि वेदितुम्
तत्त्वमिच्छामि वेदितुम्
त्यागस्य च ऋषिकेश
त्यागस्य च
त्यागस्य च
ऋषिकेश
ऋषिकेश
पृथक् केशिनसूदन
पृथक्
पृथक्
केशिनि
केशिनिषूदन
सूदन
So this is the summary of the entire Bhagavad Gita. The Gita had two summaries. One is chapter 2 and one is chapter 18. And this is the longest chapter of the Gita with 78 slokas. And Shankaracharya makes this very clear in his introduction to this chapter. He says, Sarvasya eva Gita Shastrasya Arthaha Asmin Adhyaye Upasamhritya Sarvam Cha Vedartho Vaktavya Iti Evam Arthaha Ayam Adhyasa Arabhyate. Ayam Adhyaya Arabhyate. This chapter is begun for what? Sarvasya eva Gita Shastrasya Arthasya. Summing up the entire essence, the essence of the entire Gita Shastram. And not only that, Vedartha Vaktavya iti. The entire essence of the Vedas also is being told in this chapter. And it is for the purpose of these two uh, essential ideas. Summing up the Vedas, which is nothing but summing up the entire Bhagavad Gita. That is why this chapter is there. And here, Madhusudana Saraswati, he says that he adds, his explanation is by addition to this explanation. So he says that Sarvopanishada Gavo Dogda Gopala Nandanaha. This particular line, he says, is the essence of all the Upanishads. What does it mean? Sarvo Upanishada Gavo Dogda. Gopala Nandanaha, Lord Krishna, he is extracting dogda, the milk, the nectar of Gavaha, the cows, which are Sarva Upanishadaha, which are all the Upanishads. So Saraswati says that, Madhusudana Saraswati says that the Bhagavad Gita is essentially an extract of the essence of all the Upanishads. And Shankara here refines that idea and says that the Gita is the essence of the Veda, both Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda. Right? Now, if you look at Madhusudana Saraswati, he says Sarva Upanishadaha. He says that the Tatparyam of the Shastra is Vedanta. But Shankara extended saying that all the Karma Kanda is also summed up. And we know that because a lot of Karma Kanda summaries are there in the Bhagavad Gita. So, chapter 2 as I said, was the opening summary, the essential overview of what was going to be taught. Then the teaching took place from chapter 3rd to 17th. And in this 18th chapter, Lord Krishna is again summarizing whatever he has taught. Okay. So we should remember that in the chapters from chapter 3 to 17, Lord Krishna dealt with 9 different topics. Okay, they can be broadly classified like this. First is the sadhana traya vicharaha. That is analysis of 3 sadhanas. And that we saw. Chapter 1 to 6 was karma yoga sadhana. Chapter 7 to 12 was upasana yoga sadhana. And chapter 13 to 18 was jnana yoga sadhana. So this is one possible classification of the 18 chapters. Inquiry into the 3 sadhanas, karma yoga, upasana, and jnana yoga. There is another way of classifying according to the Mahavakya. So we call it pada traya vichara. The analysis of 3 significant words of the Mahavakya. Tat, Tvam, and Asi. And if you take this classification, Tat is chapter 1 to 6, Ishvara Swarupam. Tvam, Jiva Swarupam is chapter 7 to 12. And Asi, the oneness, the Aikyam, is outlined in chapter 13 to 18. Now, there is a third classification, which is a component-wise classification. Right? This is not seen too many places, but we're talking about it. Ghataka Traya Vicharaha. Ghataka means a component. The 3 components which contribute to success. Your success, of course, means getting moksha. What are the 3 components? One is prayatna. Prayatna means employment of my own free will, my own effort, my own intellect. These three have to be employed. So prayatna is the first component. All the prayatna in the world, all the effort in the world will not bear fruit unless Ishvara Anugraha is there. Therefore, the second is Ishvara Prasadaha. The first one is Swayam Prayatnaha. Second one is Ishvara Prasadaha or Ishvara Anugraha as we call it, which is generally to be understood as Purva Janma Punyam. Punyam which has been generated by you in the previous lives, which is translating into the grace of the Lord, Ishvara Anugraha. So Prayatna, Prasadaha, and the last one is Sadgunaha, a healthy character, having healthy attitudes and healthy values. So in this classification, if you look, you can say the same thing. First 6 chapters, Prayatna. Next 6 chapters, Prasadaha. And the last 6 chapters, Sadguna, especially chapter 16 and 17. Why we have looked at this classification is because whatever you see in this 18th chapter has already been covered in those 3 areas. And therefore Shankara says, Sarveshu hi atiteshu adhyayeshu ukta arthaha. All the ideas of all the earlier chapters, asmin adhyaye avagamyate, are mentioned in this chapter. Very, very potent reason why the chapter is there. He is saying nothing new is going to be conveyed, excepting that all the ideas are being summarized again so that you will remember. Now look at the words. Arjuna Uvacha. Arjuna said, He Rishikesha Mahabaho, O Krishna, powerful Krishna, mighty armed Krishna, who is Keshi Nishudanaha, destroyer of the demon Keshi. Ichhami Veditum Tattvam. I desire to know the Tattvam, the true nature of Sannyasasya Chatyagasya Prithaka. Prithaka means differently, distinctly. He's saying, hey, Krishna, please tell me the difference between sannyasa and tyaga very, very clearly. And this question is the bijam, the seed for the entire 18th chapter. So for this, we should remember anashatta karma phalam karyam karma karoti yaha sasannyasi cha yogi cha niragnirna chakriyaha yam sannyāsamiti prahuhu yogam tam vidhi pandava naya sannyasta sankalpaha yogi bhavati kaschana. Where did we see that?
Chapter 6.
Chapter.
Chapter 6, first two verses. So there Krishna said that just putting on the saffron robes, the formal sannyasa, putting on saffron robes, is not real sannyasa. He says, even remaining in Grihastha ashrama, if you renounce ragadvesha, you are a sannyasi. Okay. So he is telling Arjuna that why this thing began, because in the very first chapter, Arjuna said, I don't want to fight the war. I just want to run away to Rishikesh and become a sannyasi. Okay. Krishna is pointing out that just running away to Rishikesh and putting on the saffron robes is not going to make you a sannyasi. You can remain in Grihastha do your duties, fight the war, and still be a sannyasi. Arjuna is not very happy. Why? Because he doesn't want to fight, because all his people are in front. Right? So remember, after 17 chapters, Arjuna is still not convinced. And therefore, if you are not convinced, nobody can blame you, because Lord Krishna was teaching Arjuna, he was not convinced. Right? So I'm saying that if yet you are not convinced, don't be disheartened. Arjuna was also not convinced in spite of being taught by Lord Krishna. And therefore he says, I want to know the true meaning of the word sannyas. How is it different from tyagaha? So what is the derivation of sannyasa we can look at? There is a root, a dhatu called asta. As, not us, half sir, asta. From that as dhatu comes asyati, to throw away, to get rid of. And to the as dhatu, you have to add two prefixes, sam and ni. Sam, ni, as. That gives you sannyasa. What do these three prefixes mean? Very, very important. As means throwing up, means throwing away, dropping something. Some means, some adds to the meaning of us. Some means totality. So us is renunciation. Some and us means total renunciation. And then it's the ni dhatu is there. Ni dhatu is niyam according to the rules. There is a proper ritualistic method, a formal method of taking sannyasa. You can't just get up in the morning and say that I am going away, I'm a sannyasi. You have to go and take the formal rituals to enter sannyasa. So sam plus nim, ni plus as sannyasaha, which means renouncing the world completely by taking up the proper ritualistic method, through the proper ritualistic method. And Rishikeshaha, of course, is Ishaha of Rishika. Rishika Ishaha. Rishika is Indriyas, Ishaha is the Lord. Therefore, Rishikesha means the one who is the Lord of the sense organs. Why? Because it is the consciousness principle which is the Lord, because of which the sense organs function. Then the other word, Keshi Nishudanaha. Right? So, destroyer of the demon, the Rakshasa Keshi. Shankara gives the meaning in his commentary. He says Keshi is the name of a demon who appeared in the form of a horse whom Krishna destroyed. Then he says, Tyagasya chatvam tatvam viditam ichhami. I would like to know the meaning of the word Tyaga also. So, again, if you look at the root, the derivation, it comes from Tyaj dhatu. Tyaj means to give up. What about us? Us dhatu is also give up. So he is asking Krishna, both Tyaj dhatu and as dhatu, from which the words Tyaga and Sannyasa are derived, both the dhatus, both the root meanings are giving up, renunciation. So is there a difference at all? Do both the words convey the same meaning? Or is there any difference at all? Therefore, Prithak, I would like to understand very, very distinctly. Why does this confusion arise in the mind of Arjuna? We should know. So, sannyasa and tyaga have been, the word sannyasa and the word tyaga have been used interchangeably by Krishna, where sarva karma sannyasa, that is in chapter 5, verse number 13, I think. So, sarva karma sannyasa means renunciation of all karma through jnana. And in the 6th chapter, he talked about giving up all of sankalpas as sannyasa. Sankalpa is your resolutions, your aspirations, giving them all up is sannyasa. In the same chapter, in the 24th verse, he says sannyasa is renunciation of karma born out of all sankalpas. It's all different meanings, okay. In the 9th chapter, he says that a disciplined mind is sannyasa. In the 12th chapter, he says dedication of all actions to Ishvara is sannyasa. In the 12th chapter itself, he says giving up results of actions through self-mastery is sannyasa. In the 12th chapter, again, he says renunciation of all actions is sannyasa. In the 14th chapter, he says going beyond gunas is sannyasa. In the 3rd chapter, he says renunciation of all actions through jnanam is sannyasa. Right? Why is the confusion there? Because he has used the words in connection with actions as well as knowledge. So if tyaga means karma tyaga, giving up of karma, then it cannot be used with yoga, with karma yoga, because karma yoga is nothing but actions itself. Yoga is only the attitude. Karma is there in karma yoga. And yoga is something which has to be done. So the word tyaga cannot be used with karma yoga, but Krishna has done that. So the question is how to give up karma. Giving up karma, does it not automatically qualify as the term sannyasa? But if you look at 11th verse of the 5th chapter, yoginaha karma kurvanti sangam tyaktva atma shuddhaye. Do karma, but sangam tyaktva. But renouncing the results of the actions. Then chapter number 5 itself, the earlier verse, 10th verse. Brahmani adhaya karmani sangam tyaktva karoti yaha. Perform actions, but give sangam tyaktva, but brahmani. But offer them to Brahman. So the doubt is that, will not karma always bind me? And therefore, the only way to be free of the grip of karma is what? Is to renounce my attachment to the karma phalam. And therefore, Arjuna is thoroughly confused. What is the correct understanding? Is it karma sannyasa or is it karma phala sannyasa? This is the basic confusion which is being mentioned in this particular sloka. The question is a very, very fundamental one. The entire teaching of the Veda, remember, is around this question. Is giving up of karma called sannyasa? And karma here means Vaidika karma. Brushing your teeth is also karma. But giving up of brushing your teeth is not sannyasa. Okay, so whenever karma is being talked about, unless we specifically mention, remember that in Shastric context, karma tyaga means Vaidika karma tyaga, giving up of the rituals mandated by the Vedas. So, this is the fundamental doubt. Is sannyasa karma tyaga or is it karma phala tyaga? Or is tyaga sannyasa or karma phalam? All these are questions. So we have Krishna understanding the problem that Arjuna faces, and he is going to give a very, very, very elaborate reply. The reply will cover sannyasa, indicators of a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, the three gunas. It's a very elaborate reply, which, as I said, has already been covered in all the 70 chapters, but here it is being presented in one chapter. Okay. Now, Shankara in his commentary says that Arjuna is interested in knowing the meaning of the word sannyasa. Meaning of the word, right? He is not really interested in the etymology, grammatical derivation, which we saw. And therefore, he is asking, hey Krishna, is sannyasa meaning different from tyaga meaning? This is the essence, which means which one is there? Do both of them, do they mean Vaidika karma renunciation? Or do they both mean karma phala renunciation? Or does one mean karma phala renunciation and the other mean karma renunciation? This is the essence of that mantra, sloka number 1. Now we will go to the second shloka. We will chant. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha
श्रीभगवानुवाच
Kamyanam Karmanam Nyasam
काम्यानां कर्मणां न्यासम्
Sannyasam Kavayo Viduhu
न्यासं कवयो विदुः
Dharma Karma Phalatyagam
सर्वकर्मफलत्यागम्
Ahustyagam Vichakshanaha.
राहुस्त्यागं विचक्षणाः
So let us first just look at the words. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Viduhu Kavayaha. Kavayaha, the rishis. Kavi is not poet. Kavi is the rishi. Kavayaha Viduhu. The sages have said, Nyasam Kamyanam Karmana. Nyasam, pronunciation of Kamyanam Karmanam, desire born actions. So, Nyasam Kamyanam Karmana, renunciations of actions which are born out of desire, they say that is sannyasa. So, Nyasam Kavyanam Karmanam Sannyasam iti viduhu kavayaha. The sages have said that renunciation of desire-born actions is sannyasa. But vichakshanaha, learned people also, vichakshanaha is a person who is learned. Prahuhu, they declare tyagam sarva karma phala tyagam. They say that tyagam is the renunciation of sarva karma phalam. So, on one hand, Krishna says that wise people have said renunciation of desire born actions is sannyasa. So, he's saying karma tyaga is sannyasa. He also says some other people have said that renunciation of karma phala is sannyasa. Okay, he has given both views. So then Shankara writes in his commentary to introduction to this verse, the words sannyasa and tyaga have been used in all the previous chapters without really pointing out a distinction. Right? See, Shankara admits that sannyasa and tyaga have been used in all the previous chapters, but Krishna has not bothered to really give a separate definition for both. So in this second sloka, and in fact in the next sloka also, Krishna is giving the opinion of other wise people. Remember that sloka number 2 and sloka number 3 are not Krishna's views. They are the opinion of other people. And therefore Arjuna asks this question. Now before we proceed further, let us just recall what we know about karma. Karma, we have seen, can be broadly divided into 5 types. So I'll just quickly go through them without too much explanation because you're all very, very senior students. If anybody doesn't know, then stop me and ask. One is Vihita karma. Vihita karma means compulsory karma, which means karma mandated by Vedas. Vihita karma is also called Nitya karma. Examples are Sandhya Vandanam, Agnihotram, Gayatri Mantra, chanting, and so on. So Vihita karma is the first one. Vihita karma is the same as Nitya karma. The second one is Kamya karma, also known as Sakama karma, desire prompted karma. The third one is Nishiddha karma, prohibited karma. The fourth one is Prayaschitta karma, activities done as penance or remedial activities done to rectify. If you have done a Nishiddha karma, for example, then there's a Prayaschitta karma prescribed. So if you have done something which is not allowed, then you have to do Prayaschitta karma, penance basically. And Naimittika karma, the occasional compulsory karma. So between 1 and 5, between Vihita and Naimittika, we have covered Nitya Naimittika karma, both of which are compulsory. And you have Kama karma, Nishiddha karma, and Prayaschitta karma. Now in the Karma Kanda, usually you will find that for some karma, the actual result, the phalam is mentioned. Like Putra Kameshti. Putra Kameshti is the karma done for wanting a child, right? A ritual done for with the desire to have a child. What is the result? The Vedas say the result is the child. Okay, so in some cases you will find that where a karma is given as optional karma or even nitya karma, it will say that this is the result. So when Veda mentions a result, then that is the result. Okay, so that is because that is what is called Shastra. Your faith in the Shastra. Now, in case the results are not mentioned, the general rule is that whenever karma phalam is not mentioned, the karma phalam is punya. Right? Now, when karma phalam is punyam, how do we decide how that punyam gets applied practically? And here the sankalpa is important. The resolution you make when you do the karma is important. Because even, remember that even nitya karma can be desire driven, right? And if nitya karma, which if done without desire, without a sankalpa, will generate punyam and chitta shuddhi. If nitya karma is done with a desire, it converts that nitya karma into kamya karma. Alternatively, you can do without the desire, and then it is done for antakarana shuddhi, chitta shuddhi. So if you do a kamya karma, what is classified in the Veda as kamya karma, but if you do it without the corresponding sankalpa, what happens? The kamya karma is no longer classified as kamya karma. Okay. Therefore, if I know what I am doing karma for, even if I am doing kamya karma, then this is nyasa itself, renunciation itself. So even if you do kamya karma or nitya naimittika karma, both of which are mentioned in the Vedas as karma to be done, but if the sankalpa is not there is no sankalpa involved, you are looking only at the punyam. What has happened? The phalam of the karma has been renounced. And therefore, this is called nyasa, renunciation. And to support these views, Krishna gives the views of some other rishis. That is what is happening here. Okay. So he says, Kamyanam karmanam nyasam sannyasam. Renunciation is giving up of all karma, excepting nitya naimittika karma. So that means giving up kama karma also. And Shankara gives an example of kama karma. He says Ashwamedha. Ashwamedha is a large karma done by a king to expand his kingdom. Right, Ashwamedha. So here he says that that is kama karma. And renunciation of such kama karmas and doing only nitya naimittika karma because nitya naimittika karma is mandatory. Kama karma is not mandatory. Kama karma is optional karma. Right. So among all the five karmas, only nitya naimittika is mandatory. Kama karma is not mandatory. Nishita karma obviously you should not be doing. And prayaschitta karma is to be done only where nishita karma is done. Therefore, the mandatory karmas which nobody should drop is nitya and naimittika. And he says, if you renounce that karma, it is called karma sannyasa. I will repeat, karma sannyasa means renouncing nitya naimittika karma. So this is the definition of sannyasa. Then what is tyaga? So Krishna says, some people define tyaga as sarva karma phala tyaga, giving up the fruits of all karma. And Shankara defines very elaborately, saying that renouncing the fruits of karma means renouncing the fruits of karma, those fruits which I would have got by performing nitya naimittika karma. Right? Remember that nitya naimittika karma has got fruits, punyam or swarga. Right? And when you do nitya naimittika karma, you can convert it by giving a sankalpa saying, this is my sankalpa, that I want punyam to be generated, or I want to go to swarga. So that is the fruit of nitya naimittika karma. And Shankara says, if you renounce those fruits, right, then that is tyaga. How do we renounce fruits? Simple. By not entertaining the sankalpa at the beginning of the ritual. When you start the karma, you don't do a sankalpa. And Shankara notes here very subtly that different scholars have given different meanings. But Shankara's view is that essentially there is no meaning, there is no difference in the meaning of sannyasa and tyaga. Both should be taken as meaning renunciation. So this is Shankara's interpretation, which we take, which we accept, that sannyasa and tyaga both mean the same, renunciation. Okay. Now comes, it's a Shankara Vashyam, which is very, very nicely done. So he introduces a Purva Pakshi. That Purva Pakshi comes and says, Shastra says that there is no phalam for, there is no fruit for Nitya Naimittika karma. So traditionally there are many Nitya Naimittika karmas, okay? Several of them, more than 20. But for us, in our compromised version, we can think of it as being covered by Panchamahayagna, which we have studied. So he says, these Panchamahayagnas, there is no phalam at all. Then how can you talk about Phalatyaga? How can you say that you are renouncing the fruit? Because there is no fruit at all. The very fact that Nitya Naimittika karma is being mentioned, it says there is no phalam. So he says, is it not like the lady who has no child renouncing her child? That is the argument used by the Purvapakshi. Talking about phalam which is not there is like a lady who has no child saying that I am giving up my child. This is the argument of the Purvapakshi. And Shankara says, no, you are not understood. Because anishtam ishtam mishram cha. What does that mean?
The three kinds of the results, anishtam, mishtam, and mixed. That is,
Or what? If you remember you are not come to that verse, okay, but
no.
this is the 18th verse, 18th chapter, 12th verse. But it's a pramanam which Shankara has taken. It says that for all karma there is three type of fruits: anishtam, ishtam, mishram, which you like, which you don't like, and mixed ones, which you like and dislike both. But we should remember that, of course, now for this, you have to recall Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, which we have not done, which says that for these types of karma, there are three types of fruits. Right? One is what? Manusha Loka, one is Pitra Loka, and one is Deva Loka. There are three fruits. For which means ultimately we won't go into all this. So he says, there is for all Nitya Naimittika karma, there are three fruits, three types of fruits, phalams. It can be Manusha Loka, it can be Pitra Loka, it can be Deva Loka. This is the quotation from Brihadaranyaka, which we are not entering into detail. The idea here is that Shankara is saying that, hey Purvapakshi, your statement saying that Shastra says there is no fruit for Nitya Naimittika karma is wrong. Because Shruti itself says that it is there. And he has given these two examples. These are all examples of Shruti and Smriti saying that Nitya Naimittika karma indeed has karma phala. So your objection is dismissed. Okay. Now we look at verse number 18.03. Tyajam doshavadityeke
त्याज्यं
दोषवदित्ये
Karma prahurmanishinaha.
कर्म
कर्म
प्राहुर्मनीषिणः
प्राहुर्मनीषिणः
Yajnadana tapah karma.
यज्ञदानतपःकर्म
यज्ञदानतपःकर्म
Natyajam iti chapare.
न
न
त्याज्यं
त्याज्यमिति
त्याज्यम् इति
चापरे
चापरे
So he gives the views of some other people. This is not Krishna's views. Both sloka 2 and 3, he is quoting other people. So eke manishinaha, some wise people, prahuhu iti, say that karma tyajyam doshavat. Karma should be renounced doshavat because they have internal defects. Chapare iti. Cha apare iti. While others say that yajna dana tapa karma na tyajyam. Actions in the form of, or karma in the form of yajnaha, danaha, and tapa should never be renounced. So these are other people. So there is a debate, says Krishna, with regard to nitya and naimittika karma. And there is one group of people who say that every duty has, every karma has got problems, right? And therefore, there will be doshaha, there will be always stress and strain and expectations. Therefore, doshavat. All karmas are full of defects, and therefore you should give them up. So, this word doshavat, because of defects, that needs to be explained, which Shankara does. He gives two meanings. He says all karmas are full of dosha. Why? Because they are the cause of bondage and therefore samsara. And the second one he says, you can think of the karma as having doshas like raga, etc. Raga, dvesha, etc. And therefore you should give it up. Two reasons. One is because they are bondage and samsara, you should give it up. One is because they have intrinsic raga and dvesha in them, so you should give it up. And therefore, these people, they say that all duties, including nitya and naimittika karma, should be given up. So these are the formal sannyasis. That is why they renounce karma. And then chapare. There are other sannyasis. They are grahasthas who say that yajna dana tapak karma na tyajyam. Your family duties, your personal duties like yajna, dama, danam, charity, and tapaha, austerity, they should never be given up. Your Panchamahayajnas are compulsory. So they say, these people say that don't get carried away and say Vedanta, Vedanta. Vedanta never asks you to give up your puja. Why? Because puja is necessary for Ishvara's prasada, for Lord's grace to flow. Puja is necessary. And therefore you can give up kama karma, but you must do nitya naimittika karma. So these are all various opinions of various people. I'll repeat here, Krishna has not yet given his own view. That comes in the next verse, verse number 4. So here, in his commentary, Shankara points out that before entering into the next verse, you need to understand that there are several ideas spread all over, which needs to be, understood and reconciled. So in the 5th verse, for example, of this chapter, Krishna says that you should never renounce nitya naimittika karma, which means the implication there. If you do not renounce nitya naimittika karma, it means you have to remain a permanent grahastha. You cannot take sannyasa because grahastha cannot, sannyasi cannot do nitya naimittika karma, and grahastha has to do. Therefore, if he says you cannot renounce nitya naimittika karma, he's saying remain a permanent grahastha. Why is this a problem? Because in terms of the original Vedic structure, Grahastha is necessary only as long as Chitta Shuddhi is not dominant. Once Chitta Shuddhi becomes a dominant factor in your mind, then you are required to take sannyasa by Veda. So these are two ideas, right? So by saying never renounce Nitya Naimita karma, is Krishna not violating the very structure of the Veda? Okay. So Shankara points out here, by way of reconciliation, that there are two sannyasas. One is Mukhya sannyasa, main sannyasa, which is the sannyasa of a person who takes up sannyasa ashrama. He renounces the world, everything, goes through the rituals and puts on the saffron robes. And then there is Gauna sannyasa, a figurative sannyasa, which is the title given to a grahastha who is on the spiritual path. And Krishna talked about this several times in the earlier chapters. On one stage, he called it Karma Yoga. Right? So he said, Nyesa Nitya Sannyasi na tveshti na kanshati. The person who has no likes and dislikes, you should understand that he is a Nitya Sannyasi. Right? Now, for the Mukhya Sannyasi, the one who has taken formal sannyasa, karma is not relevant. Since the assumption is that before you take formal sannyasa, you have got jnana. So there is a Purva Pakshi who stands up. How can you say that Mukhya Sannyasi karma is not relevant? Does he not brush his teeth? Does he not eat? Does he not drink water? Okay. So Krishna says, Sarva karmani manasa sanyasya. Shankara points out, Krishna has said that the renunciation of karma is mental. It is not that he doesn't brush his teeth. What does he say?
The kartritvam.
The Vaidika karma.
Even while brushing his teeth, he says, I am not the one brushing my teeth. Right? So all karma belongs to Anatma is the basic idea. And whether you are a sannyasi or a grahastha, it is not going to impact that idea at all. That is one answer. Okay. You can do all sort of karmas as long as you know that you are not the one doing. As long as doership is not there, you are saying my body is doing, this body is doing, but I am not doing. That is the first interpretation. The second interpretation I gave you earlier, karma has to be taken as Vaidika karma. So after you take to sannyasa, you renounce all Vaidika karma. Sandhya Vandanam, Agnihotram, all these renounce. You don't renounce karma which is necessary for the body to function, like eating, brushing teeth, walking, taking exercise, drinking water. Yeah. And Shankara says, you must remember, Jnana Yogena Sankhyanam, Karma Yogena Yogina. This is the idea that it depends which interpretation you take, but both interpretations are correct because you cannot say that a person who takes formal sannyasa is not allowed to do any karma. One explanation is by giving up the idea of doing doerhood. The other explanation is that he doesn't actually do any Vaidika karma at all because that karma definition doesn't cover on Vaidika worldly karma. Therefore, Shankara says that when Krishna is saying yajna dana tapak karma na tyajyam, do not give up yajna, danam and tapaha. Rituals, charity and austerity, don't give up. When Krishna says, he is addressing the junior students, the beginner students, and therefore there is no contradiction at all. Okay. Now we look at verse number 4. Nishchayam shruno me tatra
निश्चयं शृणु मे तत्र
त्यागे bharata sattama
त्यागे
भरतसत्तमा
त्यागो हि पुरुषव्याघ्र
त्यागो हि पुरुषो व्याघ्र
पुरुषो व्याघ्र
त्रिविधः सम्प्रकृतिर्तः तीर्थः
त्रिविध
तीर्थः.
पितः
So hey Bharata Sattama, O most honorable or most mature of all the Bharata race, Shrunu, listen, me nishchayam tyage tatraha. Listen to my firm opinion, nishchayam, firm opinion about what tyaga is. Tyagaha samprakirtitaha. Samprakirtitaha is said to be, tyagaha is said to be trividaha of three types. A Purusha Vyagraha, O tiger among men. It's a reference to Arjuna. So remember that now Krishna is giving his view. So again, we need to extract the view because it is implied in this sloka. It is not explicitly stated. What is he saying? He's saying there is absolutely no difference between sannyasa and tyaga. So listen to my firm opinion about tyaga. Nishchayam. Nishchayam is very conclusive because it is Lord Krishna's verdict and Bhagavan's verdict is the final one. So Bharata Sattama means noblest among the Bharatas. So Shankara equates Sattama to Sadhu Tamaha, noblest among the Bharatas. And Tatra Tyage, that word Tatra, he says, in that discussion on Tyaga, Tatra Tyage, in that discussion on Tyaga, so the idea is what? Is there a difference in Tyaga or Sannyasa? This is the question. Again, Shankara said that Tyaga and Sannyasa are used interchangeably. Here again, you should note that Krishna is not directly answering whether there is a difference or not. But he is using the word Tyaga and Sannyasa interchangeably. And therefore, Shankara says, the Vachyartham, that is the implied meaning of Tyaga, and the Vachyartham, the implied meaning of Sannyasa, are the same. And because Krishna himself is offering this opinion, he says he is referring to Tyaga only. But Shankara says you have to understand it as sannyasa also. And Shankara writes a commentary here saying that remember that Tyaga is a karma. And therefore it is only for the person who is doing the karma and not for the jnana. Tyaga is trividaha, threefold. What Shankara writes, starting with tamas adi prakaraihi, starting with tamas, etc. So tamas, rajas, and sattva is the three forms of tyaga. Shankara explains each and every word. Samprakirtitaha means shastreshu samyak kathitaha. Exhaustively explained by Shastra. What is explained? Arjuna has a doubt about two things, sannyasa and tyaga. And now Krishna complicates it by expanding into three things. Right? So Shankara says that Krishna talks about three types of sannyasa, tamasic, rajasic, and sattvic. And therefore, this is meant for those who are adhikaris for karma only, which means those who have got chitta shuddhi, they have not come to jnana. And he says this idea is not for the jnanis. It is only for the karma yogi because he has not yet come to jnana. And it's worthwhile noting that it is because of all these the difficulties in understanding this idea, or what is tyaga, what is sannyasa, what is jnanam, what is karma. Because of all these, you have multiple interpretations of the same Veda, which is why you have a jnana karma samuchaya vadi also, the one who says that jnanam alone cannot give moksha. You have to combine it with karma also. Right? So Shankara adds here, if you understand that, this is the reason why there are so many explanations of the same Veda, the same mantras. They are explained by different people, completely differently. So what exactly Krishna has to say about this, we will see in the next class. Any questions? Okay. Yes? I'm waiting for questions. No questions, then we can close. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamuchyate Purnasya Purnamada Purnamevavashyate Om Shanti 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 Sat Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you, Acharya.